Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Can I please ask you to stand? Well, once again, good afternoon to you, ladies and gentlemen, and a very, very warm welcome to you as we gather here in this place to honour a much-loved father, partner, brother, and friend to many, and to celebrate a life that has been well lived. By your presence, you've also gathered to show your love and your support to Robert, Nicholas, Sylvia, and their families. So welcome to you. And Mark, a welcome to you. We've gathered here today to show you our respect and our love. My name is James Mist, and it's an absolute privilege to have been asked by Mark's family to lead the service today. But before we begin, a little bit of housekeeping. First things first, can you please make sure your cell phones are set to silent or they're switched off? If you haven't had a chance to yet, can you please make sure you sign the memorial register in the foyer at the end of the service? It's a wonderful record for the family of your attendance and your support at this service today. And later on in this service, there'll be an opportunity for anyone here to come forward and share a few memories of Mark. And I really encourage you to do that if you are able to. Lastly, following the service, light refreshments will be served in the lounge across to my right. And then following that at the Horse and Hound, and you are very welcome to join the family there to continue sharing your memories. Last notice, we are live streaming today, so if you can turn around and look at the camera, give a quick wave to anyone else who may be online watching this service. Welcome to you also. Today is a hard day, yet it's also a time to celebrate a life that has been lived and shared with many, with all of its achievements, its joys, its ups and its downs. It's a time for reflection and a time to think on all that has been. In many cultures around the world, light and warmth are reverenced, particularly in the form of a candle. I'd like to share a few words with you on that thought. A candle's but a simple thing, and it starts with just a piece of string. Yet dipped and dipped with patient hand, you find that it gathers wax upon the strand, until it's complete and it's snowy white. It gives at last a lovely light. And really life is so like that piece of string. Each day we all do a simple thing. Yet day by day, if on life's strand we work with patient heart and hand, it gathers joy, makes dark days bright, and it gives at last a lovely light. And so with that thought in our minds, I'm going to light this candle. The candle burns bright, searing hot. Our loss can feel like searing heat, but the candle is also warm, like the memories we will recall now, times of laughter, times of love, times of warmth. The candle is lit to mark a point in time and to give focus to something that has been. And the candle is something that we can gather around to support one another and to realise that through you, Mark lives on. The candle, of course, also marks that now we are in a sacred time. This time, in remembrance and celebration of Mark, is for you, his family and his friends, now special and sacred. And in recognition of that, can I ask you to join with me in sharing a moment's silence for Mark. Thank you. On Thursday, I had the pleasure of sitting down with some of Mark's family and talking about his life and the things that he has done. I always find that this is a very special time as people hear things that they may not have heard before, things that make them laugh or things they just didn't know. Some of the things that we talk about are what you might call mundane, places of birth, schools and the like. But it never ceases to amaze me that hearing these stories and these details is a reminder of how precious somebody's life is, and all of it, the great and the small, that a person achieves in their time on earth. And so I'd like to share with you some of what I heard, and I hope that over the next few parts of the service you will learn something that maybe you didn't know about Mark before. Mark was born on the 15th of December 1958 over the bridge, or should I say the border, in Taradale. He was born the eldest of three brothers to Mike and Mari. Growing up, and quite quickly, Mark developed a passion for hunting. And I feel that right now it's important to remind everyone here that duck shooting season starts in 21 days, 7 hours and 42 minutes. Not that we're counting, of course. But in all seriousness, duck shooting especially was to be a lifelong passion, and it's something that I heard loud and clear in our time on Thursday. Mark attended Napier Boys High School, and following on from his time there, joined the rabbit board at Taihape and was involved in scrub cutting in the region. At school he played rugby and then continued playing at the Takapau Rugby Club. Later in life, with his own sons, he would enjoy watching them play rugby and was always happy, I'm told, to provide some advice on ways that they could improve their game. Likewise, he enjoyed watching the test matches, and there too was found to be happy to provide advice and commentary to the TV when he felt that it was needed or appropriate. In 1996, Mark married Sarah and Robert was born that year, followed by Nicholas in 1998. Mark and Sarah drifted apart, but later in life he met Sylvia, who's been an integral part of his life for the past few years. Mark has had a varied and interesting working life, which involved hunting at times, possum trapping, the freezing works, and I'm told he spent a couple of years working in the wheat belt in Western Australia. Varying and interesting roles, always connected to the land, and by extension, into nature. Now, sometimes we may not think of someone with a passion for hunting as being interested in nature, but that's not the case, because there is a symmetry between the two, especially in an appreciation and understanding of wide open spaces, of rhythms and reasons, and of seasons and of times. These things are all connected. These were some of the memories and the times of Mark and his life that were shared with me, and I thoroughly enjoyed hearing them. Of course, in that short time, I haven't even begun to scratch the surface of Mark's life and everything that has been in it. And so, as I said earlier, we've come to that part in the service where you have a space and a time to come forward and add to the stories that I have heard. Share your memories of Mark and the time you spent with him. And I want to let you know that you're very, very welcome to do this, even if it's just a short memory. If you'd like to speak, please tell us your name and how you're connected to Mark, and the time is yours.
As you all know, I'm Rob and Nicholas, two boys. I'd like to say thank you to everyone for coming. Who didn't come, I'm sure they send their condolences. I'd just like to say to everyone who has helped us in this very tough time, it has not been easy, and it won't be for a long time.
Oh, do you think so?
It wasn't a part of the speech. Helped us in a very, very tough time. It's not been easy for both of us or any of our family. It's been very, very hard. It won't be for a long time. He's such an awesome dad. He's helped us in ways we'll be forever grateful, and touched a lot of people's hearts that are here today. We'll be forever grateful, and he taught us everything we know. Sometimes they were good, and sometimes they were bad. He lived life to the fullest, always. Never done anything half-assed. I just wish he could have just done one more dump shit. He was like a little kid. He was like a little kid getting lollies at this time of the year. But no doubt he'll be with us on the lake this year like he had planned. We had a lot of good times together. A lot we'll never forget. Jeez, Dad, if you send a few to do, love you.
Hi everyone, I'm Graham. I met Mark 45 years ago. The Bucket Gate crashed my 21st. Come to the door and I knew of him. I knew Mike, Craig, seen them around at the rugby clubs and pubs, and yeah, we all spoke the same language. We were keen hunters, duck shooters. I've got to tell you, that bugger never knew his way around in the daylight. I'd say to him, "Are we meant to be here, mate?" He said, "Until they catch us." But just lately, Mark has got involved in the Petongata Clay Target Club. Last 5 or 6 months he's been shooting and just improving and improving. I said to Celia one day, "Is this bastard still showing off out there?" He just a month ago won 3 championships at the club, which is, I can tell you, not too easy to do there. I haven't done it for bloody years. I've got to tell you a wee story. It was about 3 years ago. Duck shooting, everything was duck shooting. And of course, as you know, it's about to happen again. Mark and I were in the hide on Lake Artuma. He just loved it. And he had a real field sense. He could set bloody decoys like you wouldn't believe, you know. You get you in the hide and give you a bit of a debrief on how he reckoned it was going to happen. Quite often he was dead bloody right, but we never told him how good he was, never wanted to. But I can tell you this morning he was having a bloody nightmare. He couldn't hit him. And mates being mates, we all help each other, as Mudgy would tell you over here. Robbie, we never had a good word to say about how good the shot was, although it was a good one, or how good your dog was, and how well you had it running. No one had a good word. But so I thought I'd help Mark this particular morning. I know that I had probably one of the better days, and I had a few floating around, and I looked at him and I said to him, "How's your confidence at this stage, mate?" And he gave me that look he'd give you, and I knew that I didn't want to push too many more buttons. And then I had to do the right thing. I remember he was searching the skies and he said to me, "Here's a couple." And he'd be on the left and I'm on the right. Of course, I had to do the right thing and shoot his one. So that happened, and I could see his barrel waving around trying to swing onto the one I was meant to have shot. I left him that one, he missed it. And he got into me a bit. And yeah, I was ragging him. I said, "Well, I think you're probably better to jump in the boat and go and pick those 6 up I've got out there." I don't need to tell you what he told me to do. I said to him, "Well, it's about as close as you're going to bloody get to getting these ducks today, mate." And then, yeah, he just wasn't having a good one. And then I started, really got going on him. I said to him, "Look and learn, son, look and learn." Well, he hated it. And I tell you what, I looked across at him and he was like a kid with a smack bum face. He wasn't happy. Well, we ended up getting our limits, and all the way home he wasn't saying a hell of a lot. But I know when he got me back to Havelock here, I walked in and said to my wife, "Linda, I think I'm in the shit tomorrow." And I couldn't have spoken a truer word. As we got to the hide, I don't think the bugger had slept. I think he knew what he was up to the next day. Well, we did have a good morning. Mark had a bloody great day. He shot 15 and left me 1. And yeah, great mate. Just always wanted to help. He's just...
You're going to have to excuse me, I'm not going to refer to this man as Mark, because we always knew him as Louis, or Lulu, and he was the one that started it, not us. My name's Murray. I first met Mark when I was 16 years old, a 39-year-old friendship, 39 years later. Mark was, when I first met Mark, he was a part-time worker at Takapau. He was supposed to do 5, but he only ever did Tuesday to Thursday. His mum was a supervisor, and as he said to me a couple of weeks ago, nothing a leg port wouldn't fix. We were at a funeral actually, my sister-in-law just a few weeks back, and we ran into a few of the old boys from Takapau, and one of them goes, "Bloody Mark Lampitt, do you remember the milk?" And I looked at Louis and he's looked at me and he goes, "What's the milk?" And I don't know. He's like, "We used to get milk given to us by the company, and nobody was allowed on our table because it was for the big dogs." We shared a lot of interests. We didn't do a lot of hunting together, although we just had one recently. We did a lot of diving together, fishing, even in my family. If I wasn't going, my son, Ryan, and my nephew Jake, they developed a real close friendship with Mark. He was always the first on the list for the crew. It was his experience. He was always organised. But most of all, at the end of the day, he was good company, but he'd do the work. He'd always clean the boat, always sort the fish, and he was all about it. He was hearty. He was. Without being rude, he had a beautiful bit of mongrel in him, and a lot of naughty. Weirdly enough, Mark had been diving for quite a few years before I had, and I'd become an instructor. And he said to me, "Can you give me my ticket, boy?" I'm like, "Oh, you better come to a course, eh?" So we did the first weekend in Waipak. We did in the classroom in the pool. The following weekend we went to Wellington to dive there. And after dinner on the Saturday night, I said to him, "All right, let's make sure everybody behaves here." He's like, "Yeah, I got this, man." I got up at 6 and they just got home from the strip club. It was a pretty tough day for them, I can tell you. Mark loved to party, and you'll all know that dance move that he had. It was like he'd saw you to death if you got too close. And I loved a good sing along, and he was always all about it. One of the biggest laughs that we had with Mark was duck shooting 2020. All the dams were dry, the lake was dry. I think even Graham was talking about putting down polythene to emulate water. And so I picked a spot just down the road from myself and Elsthorpe. And I said, "Look, jump in with us." And we had a fairly good sized crew there. And he jumped in, and you daren't make the wrong call. You had to behave yourself and make sure you shot at the right time. But at the end of the night, after we'd had a feed, and don't get me wrong, this is not something we made a habit of, but we had this game. 6 bottles of port went that way, and some weed went that way. And this went on for a few hours. And then he just stopped. He liked to share, Mark, and maybe even a bit more than a share. And he kept getting caught, because if you got caught with both, you had to do 2 of both. And he sat there and he did both, 2 of the port and 2 of the tobacco. And I'm sitting there and I'm looking at him, and everybody stops. I'm like, what the hell's wrong? So I give him a nudge and I go, "Louis, you right?" And he sat there and he just looked at me with the most concerned look on his face, and he goes, "I can't remember which way the port goes." Well, needless to say, we were literally laying on the grass and absolutely crying with laughter. Graham and Linda, I know you've been like exceptional friends to Mark. You've always been there. And every time he's come home, you always had a bed for him and a meal and a beer. And obviously that's how we've got to know each other a whole lot better. To Blue and Mike, I never even had to contact you to see what you're up to, because he told me, and he's bloody proud of you. Another one he talked a lot about was Pete. Okay, he was always had you in the conversation. Sylvia, I can honestly say this, he died a very, very content, very happy man. And for every Wednesday night, Mark and I would have a dinner date. He'd come to my place, as you know, and he's the fastest eater I've ever seen. And he'd turn up with 2 drinks and have 5. So thank you, Sylvia. He was very, very well taken care of. And he loved you very much. As for you 2 young men, he was extremely proud of you. There wasn't a single time that I spent with that man that he wouldn't talk about you. Okay, absolutely loved you to bits and was as proud as hell of you. I've lost a mate who we just didn't share laughs and we just didn't share experiences. I think I've seen that man at his lowest and vice versa. And he'd always either come see me or at worst he'd contact me with a message and he'd go, "You're right, Mer? You're right, Mer?" And he was always there, and I'm going to miss that. I'm going to miss the bugger. Thank you.
Hello everyone, I'm Shirley and this is Diane and we're Mark's aunties. Just a little poem for you, Mark. Gone hunting. I've finished all life has for me. I have been invited to the great hunting ground, where every day is a wondrous day to hunt. To fill your heart with every wish, don't worry or feel sad for me, for I'm hunting with the master of the hunt. We'll miss each other for some time, but in time you will come and we will be with each other again. That won't be long, you'll see, till we're together again, you and me. For those that think of me know I'm on a great hunt and as happy as can be. To those that wonder of my early farewell, tell them I'm hunting with the master. Don't cry for me, I'm not gone. My soul is at rest, but my heart lives on. Light a candle for me, which we've done, and hold on to my memory, but save your tears. I'm still here by your side through the years. Rest in peace, Mark.
I want to thank everyone who came forward today to speak. And I also want to acknowledge that at times like this, it really isn't an easy thing to do. But your memories help to shape a whole picture for us of a life that has been lived and the joy that it has brought. In the coming days, weeks and months, I would encourage you to continue sharing your memories of Mark and let his name be ever as it was. Speak of him often and speak of him to the generations yet to come. It is through you that he continues on. While our words and our stories are important to continue sharing, and I'm sure you will at refreshments later on, I'm also sure that most of you would be familiar with the saying, a picture paints 1,000 words. And it's in that knowledge that the family have put together some photos for you
Get back, brother.
There's about 100 coming in. There's 100 coming in.
Get your
Well, thank you for sharing those. I hope you enjoyed seeing those memories as much as I did, and I enjoyed your laughter. I'm sure there's some good stories behind some of those photos. I'd like to share a reading with you that I think in a way connects us to Mark today, and it's titled Home is the Hunter. And it's a poem essentially about the way one lives in relation to the natural environment, and that the riches of the earth have been placed here for men to steward and manage. An analogy I dare say that Mark would understand well. Home is the sailor home from the sea, her far-borne canvas furled. The ship pours shining on the quay the plunder of the world. Home is the hunter, home from the hill, fast in the boundless snare. All flesh lies taken at his will, and every fowl of the air. 'Tis evening on the moorland free, the starlit wave is still. Home is the sailor from the sea, and home is the hunter from the hill. When I think of this poem, I'm reminded of the cycle of nature. Our purpose today has been to come together and celebrate Mark's life. We note, as the poem does, that today he, the hunter, is indeed home from the hill. The poem marks the bounty of life and of the hidden treasures that we all find in nature when we look for it. It challenges us to work hard and to reap the rewards of that work. It speaks of adventure, far-borne canvases furled, that after a time of hunting and seeking that reward, the flesh and fowl of air, particularly fitting in Mark's case I note, are brought home, and at home they are enjoyed, and at home the hunter should rest. It speaks that after all of that adventure and the rewards that it has brought, the sailor and the hunter note that the waves are still, and once again, indeed, they are home. I see a correlation between this poem and Mark. We've heard lots of stories of Mark's love of hunting and of the pleasure that it has brought him for most of his life. And that, in different ways, he's earned a living, or as the poem notes, made plunder. This was a joy he was able to share with many members of his family. Robert spoke often of times enjoyed hunting together. Indeed, a word that the family used to describe Mark's enjoyment of hunting was enthusiastic. Enthusiasm is a potent human characteristic. Enthusiastic people derive immense pleasure from a task or an activity by virtue of their passion. And when they are on their topic or engaged in their favourite pastime, their zest is infectious. It's catching for everyone that's around them. And while we celebrate all that Mark's life has been, his passion and enthusiasm, not just for hunting, but for his family and his friends, we note that he will be sorely missed. And there is a feeling of grief that you will all feel today. Grief is an entirely normal emotion to feel in this situation, because grief has to be accompanied by another emotion, and that is called love. It's not possible for a human being to feel true grief without having felt true love first, and so it's often said that grief is the price we pay for love, a bill, if you like, for having been open to another person. The good news is that grief, while undoubtedly sharper, is invariably the shorter lived of the two emotions. And while, certainly, it is the one you'll feel more today, in time it gives way to love. And as human beings, we're conditioned in time to forget pain more than we are conditioned to forget love. In time, the memories you have of Mark and the love you have shared will be what you hold on to and what you remember. So, hold on to all of your memories, all of the times you've shared with Mark. Speak of him as you always have. It is through you, as I said earlier, that he continues on, as does his story, which you now pick the torch up for. In that sense, and from a different angle, grief can be seen as a good thing, for it means that you've known love. And that is something all of us can celebrate in this day today. Mark, for all of the love and the life that you have lived, we give thanks. Now rest in peace. As we move to the close of today's service, a few reminders again. If you haven't had the chance to sign the memorial register, please do so. It's out on the tables in the foyer. In a couple of minutes following the service, please follow Mark outside to the car, where he will wait and you can come back inside and share in some light refreshments with the family. Following that, he will be farewelled as he goes on his final journey. And then you're warmly invited to join the family at Horse and Hound for further refreshments. Can I please ask you to stand? We have been celebrating and remembering with love the life of Mark Wayne Lampitt, and we have been celebrating all that his life has meant. And in Mark's own words, at the end of the day, in life, there are seasons. There's a time to laugh and there's a time to cry. There's a time to make merry and there's a time to be sober. There is a time for action, and equally there's a time for reflection. In life there's winter, there is spring, there is summer, and there is autumn. But of utmost importance in life, there is a time to be born, and so it is, there is a time to die. Mark, you have run the race. You have seen, weathered, and lived through the seasons of life. Go forth from this place in the knowledge of the love and respect that you are held in by your family and by your friends. Rest in peace. And for ourselves, don't stand by and weep, for he isn't here and he doesn't sleep. He is 1,000 winds that blow, and he is the diamond glint that you see upon the snow. When you wake in the morning hush, he is the quiet, uplifting rush. So don't stand here and cry, for he isn't here and he didn't die. And now, as I extinguish the candle, the smoke rises, like our thoughts and like our memories. One day, you will be reunited again. So go forth from this place today in peace. Can I please ask the pallbearers to come forward?